Evening, everybody, and we are so thrilled that you are here with us for another Festival South Reimagined. It is Saturday, June 13th, and we have been having some of the most glorious weather. I was telling somebody the other day that I don't remember when we've had a summer that hasn't been just baking by now, so not going to complain about that at all. I'm also really proud of my hometown today, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. Tonight on the program, we have James Rayolt guitar, Jorge Gonzalez and the FestivalSouth Orchestral Academy playing Beethoven. It is Beethoven's 250th birthday this year. It's actually in December, his actual birthday. Teresa Sanchez and Alexandra Tchaikovsky of the Impromptu trio. But first, a person who is possibly busier than me, easily busier than me, and just an ambassador for Hattiesburg like no other, and that is Marlo Dorsey with Visit Hattiesburg. Good evening, Marlo.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. You know, typically these last 2 weeks, we would have been joined at the hip. So being able to see your smiling face virtually just brings joy to my day today. So thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Absolutely. For those who may not know you, tell them a little bit about what you are, what is Visit Hattiesburg, and what you do for the town.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Marlo Dorsey. I'm the Executive Director of Visit Hattiesburg, and we are the official destination marketing organization for Greater Hattiesburg. So we partner with organizations throughout our communities to host visitors the best ways that we can, whether that's for play or for business here in Hattiesburg. And last year we hosted more than 2.2 million of them. So tourism is certainly big business in Hattiesburg, and we know that with the effects of COVID-19, we've all had to adapt our business models and really stay safe right now, but know that we've got big things in store, and I'd love to talk about some of those and how the arts plays in it too, Mike.
Absolutely. Well, you brought it up, so let's go there. What are you looking forward to? What can we have to look forward to in Hattiesburg?
Well, when you are the tourism director, obviously you love people and you love gatherings. So let's all admit how much of a challenge these last several months have really been on the tourism economy. But when we can pause and we can reflect and really think about creatively how we can adapt our business models to come out stronger than ever before, this has given us a time to really take a look at how do we destination build and really build the community and the destination that we've always wanted. So while we can't be fully immersed right now in the orchestra, or today is Craft Beer Festival Day, which is what we were supposed to be doing downtown, what we can do is think of new creative ways to try to do some of those things. So a lot of new public art projects have been coming to life in Hattiesburg. So while we're on pause, really hosting our guests, we're able to really look at ways of making our destination more beautiful. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed some of the murals we've recently unveiled, and we have more in the works.
Well, we're really excited that one of those murals was done by Kelsey Wishick, who is our painter this year. Amy Just was sort of our 10-year artist, and she and Kelsey talked, and Amy was like, I think I've done my decade. It's time for another vision, somebody else to do something. And Kelsey came in and just ran with it. And that painting, you'll see a little bit more about it in our show. If you've been watching, you see our video where she talks and tells us about the painting that's actually up for auction, also to help the arts here. But I will tell you, just before we went on air, Marlo and I were talking about all the creatives that, I think there's been, there was the funk or the shock at first, and then I think the funk set in, and then I think it was, I've got to do something. So there is no telling what everybody has been up to. I'll tell you, we got projects. We're looking at stuff for Hub City Players, for FestivalSouth, for the School of Music, and all of the arts at Southern Miss that I personally work with. And I know in talking to Kelsey when we were working on the painting that, or just talking about that, there's so many things. I've been talking to Abby, and we talked to Rebecca earlier this week in the Arts Council and HCLO. And so many of our organizations are really just waiting to see you again. We have missed you terribly. And so we are very excited to see you again. So what has quarantine life been like for you personally? And I know you have so much going on. This is graduation day, by the way, or graduation weekend for one of her sons. So Marlo is a little bit busy, so I don't want to keep her forever. But and it's been a day here in Hattiesburg. Talk about both of those things, like your personal a little bit, and then about what we've been doing here today in Hattiesburg.
Absolutely. Well, the first 2 weeks of quarantine, we sheltered in place. So Certainly sheltered in place, followed every order that we were asked to follow. But quickly, when we realized how much help our local restaurants and hotels really needed to make sure that they had the sanitizer, to make sure that they had all the latest cleaning methods, to make sure that curbside could go off like it needed to, we really doubled down our efforts at the tourism office to make sure we could be a good partner. So after 2 weeks, I was out and about following safe business practices and hygiene to make sure that we knew our community knew that we were there for them in their time of need. So there's that. So we've been actually busier than ever. And, and that's just all part of it. We need to be here when we come out stronger, and there's a lot of work that has to be done behind the scenes. So yes, my son, my baby boy, graduated from high school yesterday with honors. So lucky he takes after his mom and not his dad on that. So,
oh, wow.
I'm just kidding.
That's all right. You can get her back later. This is on tape for all time now, so you have it on recording.
Yes. So it's been a beautiful celebration. Yesterday was a good day, but I'll tell you, a lot of difficult conversations are being had right now as we all look at these adverse and uncertain times we had. So my son is a wonderful artistic kind of kid. And we've had a lot of conversations about Black Lives Matter and what that means, and just the importance of being an ally and listening, and just really being there and seen as a friend to all different walks of life. It's also Pride Month. So, we just need to really look at all the diversity and the beauty that's in our community. And those are some conversations now that, he's 18, we've always had a home of love, acceptance, and diversity here. But when you go out into the world, you need to make sure you're fortifying a lot of those things so that they take those life lessons and become an ally moving forward, even in really uncertain times. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about today, I'd be happy to.
Well, I will just tell you that I was so proud of our town today, because if you watch the news and if you were stuck at home and sheltering in place, and some people are able to get out a little bit and some people are getting out maybe more than they should, we have every range there happening. If you watch the news constantly, it looks just horrible. And you just the worst things, because as we know, in media world, we say if it bleeds, it leads. And unfortunately, that horrible statement is just the way news is made, and they want you to watch. And I'm sure many people were concerned today. Even the protesters that were there today were concerned, would this be safe? Would this be that? And to see all the stuff coming through social media yet, I hope the media was there to cover that. I hope they were there to show Hattiesburg really listening and really working together. And it's not over. It's not a one-day thing. It's not probably a one-year thing by any stretch of the imagination. And it was just really gratifying to see so many people from across the spectrum of age and race, and just all united in this cause to make this a better place than it already is in many ways.
I really couldn't agree more. It was heartwarming to be able to see and hear the pain in voices, and to see people coming together peacefully, but also passionately about the need for love and acceptance and just a path forward. And we need to have those difficult conversations, and we need to be seen as allies regardless of our walk of life or the color of our skin. But today, Black Lives Matter, and we know that, and we need to embrace that, and we need to have those conversations moving forward so that we can all come out of this and overcome this together.
One of the things we said on our very first broadcast was we weren't really sure if this was the right time or when the right time would be. And I think one of the things that we've always been about with FestivalSouth is a safe place for everyone, from artists on the stage, behind the scenes, for our audiences, and we try to embrace every possibility. And now we're listening even more than ever, and we're excited about that. And I think the arts and what we do and what all of our artists here, it's why we tried to invite on our other arts organizations that some may see as competition, and I never see that ever. in that way. I think we're all making part of our fabric better here. But I think the arts are going to play a huge part in our recovery, and we appreciate Visit Hattiesburg has been so supportive for years and years and years now, since the beginning of Festival South, right up into your tenure here, and we really appreciate that. But how do you see, and like, why is it important for you to support the arts? I don't know that everybody always gets that that tourism works in with the arts sometimes. I think it's not really thought of. But why you and Visit Hattiesburg?
Thank you for that. You know, Hattiesburg, we're not perfect, and we know that, and we saw a lot of that today. But I do believe that we are a progressive city, and I do believe that we have engaged leadership at many different levels. But part of that is because the artistic spirit and the creative economy is really woven in everything we do. And if we think about the arts, it truly is the purest form of expression, whether that is in words, in songs, in music, or in dance, or in paint. It really helps us cross barriers and look at things, and it really tugs at our heart. It invokes passion or emotion in us. And I truly think that the arts, you know, I just wonder what masterpiece someone's making right now, because we think about Mississippi being the birthplace of America's music, and we think about all the resiliency and the hardships that people have overcome decades before I was alive or you were alive, Mike. And out of adversity comes beauty. And I really think that we're going to see a resurgence in the arts right now. And I think that the beauty we see from these days of uncertainty and darkness, we're going to enjoy this. I believe a renaissance is in the making as you and I sit here and chat.
We are really excited about that, and we are definitely looking forward to it. Marlo, thank you and Visit Hattiesburg for everything you do for our community, not just through Festival South, but for all aspects of it. I think if people really knew what you did and what your schedule looks like, sometimes when we talk to each other on the phone, it's like, what meeting have you been to in what state, at what time and where, and wee hours and early hours. So thank you so much for all you do for that. We appreciate you being here in Hattiesburg and helping us with everything. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Festival South, the entire crew in front of the camera, behind the camera. We adored you guys, and the show must go on.
They're waving.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much. So coming up, lots of music, lots of fun things. James Rayout playing guitars right after I stop speaking, and we'll be back with Jorge Gonzalez, the Festival South Orchestral Academy, Teresa Sanchez, Impromptu Trio, so many more things. Stay with us.
and people stayed home and read books and listened and they rested and did exercises and made art and played and learned new ways of being and stopped and listened more deeply. Someone meditated, someone prayed, someone met their shadow, and people began to think differently, and people healed. And in the absence of people who lived in ignorant ways, dangerous, meaningless, and heartless, the earth also began to heal. And when the danger ended and people found themselves, they grieved for the dead and made new choices and dreamed of new visions and created new ways of living and completely healed the earth, just as they were healed.
Thank you so very much, James, for performing for us. Amazing talent that we have here in Hattiesburg. If you're joining us live or if you're joining us in a later version of this recorded, just a reminder that every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 7:30 and Monday at noon in June, you can find us here on Facebook on all of our accounts, and then about an hour after each performance, live on YouTube, or the recording on YouTube, I should say. One thing we really ask you to do is take a moment, go to visit FestivalSouth.org. It's FestivalSouth.org, and click on the big red button to donate. So many artists will not be going back as things are opening up because we're not allowed to get together just yet, and we really could use your help. Visit FestivalSouth.org and click on that big red button. One of the amazing things that would have been happening today would have been our Festival South Orchestral Academy performance. That has become one of our staples, and I remember years ago when it was small and very student-based, and we were very much about that happening. And it was very good, but all of a sudden it sort of, with its leadership, took an amazing turn, and several years ago became one of our featured concerts for Festival South. Joining us tonight is their director, and well known to Hattiesburg pretty well now, is Jorge Gonzalez. Jorge, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike. Sure.
Having a little bit trouble hearing you. You might just make sure your mic is good and open or you're near it. Tell us a little bit about you. For those who may not know Jorge Gonzalez, I mean, if you were in Hattiesburg Strings, you knew you. If through William Carey, through Southern Miss for so many years, at Temple, I believe, I've seen you performing. So please tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, well, I've been in Hattiesburg for over 22 years, so this is home for me. I came to study bachelor's and master's degree at USM. And now I'm currently working on my DMA in conducting. I have been working with the Hattiesburg Public School Systems, the Strings program, for 14 years. For the last 2, I have been serving as the coordinator of the Strings program. And the last 2 years also functioning in a part-time capacity because I was hired at William Carey University as the violin and viola professor and conductor of the orchestra and coordinator of the Strings program there as well. So, everything musically speaking has been here in Hattiesburg for me. I'm also very active as a performer, playing with the Meridian Symphony, Mobile Symphony, and the Gulf Coast Symphony. The Gulf Coast Symphony, I am the concertmaster of the orchestra. Mobile, I have been serving as the assistant concertmaster for, I think, at least 18 years. And Meridian Symphony, I serve as the principal second violinist and also the personnel manager of the orchestra as well. So, yes, I stay a little bit busy, but, everything is all related to music, and it's my passion. So some people say that it's not work when you enjoy it. So that's definitely the case for me.
I'm the same way. People ask me, like, I don't know how you keep the hours that you keep. And I said, I don't know that I'm working ever. And I think people who watch me that don't know, they're like, you're constantly working. Like, I can't, I'm sorry, I learned at the feet of Jay Dean where my phone should just be embedded in me somewhere in a computer laptop nearby. But it's just been an amazing time for all of the arts. We were just talking with Marlo Dorsey from Visit Hattiesburg about, what have we all been doing and different things. So I'll ask you that question. I know a little bit. Jorge didn't say one thing. He has a pretty incredible family. His wife I like a lot. She's a really cool lady. And she's super talented, and now super talented kids. So I've seen a little bit. If you kind of follow him on Facebook, you'll see a little bit of what he's done during quarantine time. But what has quarantine life been like for you and your family?
Well, I think like everybody else, we try to stay home. We definitely want to take care of our kids. So we want to be safe in terms of, staying at home, only go out whenever needed. And so we have been trying to find ways to stay active, to keep the kids engaged in some of the activities that, they love, they enjoy. And also, try to avoid for them to spend all day long in front of the screen, TV, computer, or video games. And so one of the things that we have encouraged our kids to do is to play a musical instrument. So Ian, our 9-year-old, plays cello, and Ali, our 6-year-old, plays the piano. And so they have continued taking lessons even through the quarantine, online, of course. And we have tried to find ways to, for all four of us to play together. So between my wife and I, which, you mentioned, you like Liza a lot, I think that's one of her most important features that to me is very important because everybody loves her. Even if they don't like me, they love her. So it's very good to be near her. But, she has been fundamental in making these arrangements for the family, for the quartet. Ali is just starting on piano, and even though we see a lot of talent in her and she can read music, it's difficult to find arrangements that fit her level. So we have been, making little adjustments to some of the pieces that we know from temple, as you mentioned, from church where we attend, and trying to, fix or rearrange some of the pieces that we love to play in church, and so we can all play together with the four of us. So we actually made 2 videos of 2 different hymns, and our purpose was not to get a profit out of these concerts or these performances. It's just basically to share our love for music. And the first video, even a TV station from Mexico, from our hometown, picked up the video and broadcast it, and we got up to almost 20,000 views from the video. Meridian Symphony also share it. We love to see that. As musicians, yes, it is important to make a living out of our music, but it's also important to share some of our product, for the betterment of the community.
Okay, we've talked about it so much now. If we find that video, you're going to let us share it?
Sure, absolutely.
We'll have to do that. It really, really is sweet. And I date myself, but I just remember when neither child was here, and to see your son playing cello and see him go through all the cellos has been just really kind of fascinating. So what do you miss most? What are you miss most, or what are you looking forward to the most when we're sort of all at a safer spot?
I love the audience. I love playing for an audience. I miss playing for an audience, and I really miss working with my students. So it's all combined, it's all together, but being in front of my students, both the high school and the college students, having the international students on all the participants for the academy, like you said, this year we had to cancel. We had a lot of students interested and already applying to come this summer, but being in front of my students and being in front of an audience is something that you cannot replace. And even if we are active performing online, Facebook Live or pre-recorded performances, stuff like that, it's not the same. I love soccer as well, football games, soccer. And I was watching one today where there was no audience in there. And, it's the same thing. I can imagine how the athletes feel. It's the same for us. The other day, somebody asked me to be part of a project where I was conducting, and we put together an orchestra with members of different organizations from all over the world. And when I saw the final product, it almost brought tears to my eyes. I mean, it's not the same for sure.
We were the same. I do a lot of musical theater, and the opening video that we did on Saturday night for Kinky Boots with a cast that was just so exciting, and we were so thrilled to get together. And to finally see them all in one place, though none of them were in one place, was just kind of magic. And so I can't wait for that either. Jorge, we thank you so much for being here. We thank you for sharing the video that's coming up in just a moment of the FestivalSouth Orchestral Academy, playing some Beethoven for his 250th birthday. We really do appreciate you being here this evening.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much. So as I said, we will hear some Beethoven now. And if you follow us on social media, you may have seen my faux pas in something that I put out and calling it Coriolanus. Well, there's some confusion about that. So it's actually the Coriolan Overture, and it was written by Beethoven as to be about the story of a play by Heinrich von, I'm looking at it, Collins, actually, and not Coriolanus, which is a play by Shakespeare. However, both that tragedy, the play by Shakespeare and by von Collins, is about the same leader in a tragedy story, Coriolanus. So you can see how maybe we got it a little bit confused. I apologize for that. But here is the FestivalSouth Youth Orchestral Academy from several years ago playing Beethoven's Coriolan Overture. Wow, the sound of applause. It's so great to hear the sound of applause in a hall. It's been a little bit since that's happened. Once again, that was the FestivalSouth Orchestral Academy a few years ago, playing some Beethoven for you. And what you need to know about that is that students from all over come together, and some of their teachers and pros sit in for the final rehearsal, but they're here for a week and put that all together in a week. And that was just one of the numbers on the program that evening. It's an amazing endeavor that we look forward to everybody being back with us next summer. And just a reminder, if you're watching us live now or if you're watching this later, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 7:30 and Monday at noon, we'll be streaming on all of our FestivalSouth Facebook platforms, and then YouTube about an hour later, the program will air again. We also ask that you try and visit FestivalSouth.org. We need you now more than ever. When businesses are opening up, we're not here. We're still going to be digital for probably some time to come, at least in large gathering events like orchestras and shows and musical theater, dance, things like that. We really could use your help if you'll visit FestivalSouth.org and click on the big red button. Anything you do is helpful. So if you're in Hattiesburg, there's something else going on, and I was asked to mention it. If you live down in the Avenues, you'll know where that is. The percussion professor from Southern Miss, John Wooten, and sort of a regular performer all around the South, has been doing a series of concerts at 7 p.m. on Sunday night from his backyard. He is a fabulous percussionist, but he's actually doing a steel drum concert. And we found out through Little Birdie that he is doing a Sinatra program tomorrow, that is June 14th, if I'm correct, at 7 p.m. from his backyard. You know how you find it? You drive downtown Hattiesburg and just listen and find the way. And there's social distancing. You'll have to wear a mask and you sort of stay around, but it's something you'll be able to hear for a little bit. So with this beautiful weather we've been having, you should go out and take a listen. My next guest makes a whole chunk of the festival happen, and she's been doing that since we've started. I was fortunate enough to call her my accompanist, we call it back in the day, but we're going to talk about why it's collaborative pianist is a much more appropriate term, and that is Teresa Sanchez. Welcome, Dr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mike, or Dr. Lapinto, I should say. It's great to be here.
We really appreciate everything you do for that. For folks, for the festival, tell people what it is you do in general in your daily life, or our used to be daily life, and tell them what you are doing for the festival as well.
Sure. Well, my day job is being full-time piano faculty at Jones College, where I have been for 25 years, unbelievably enough now, and I'm continuing with that. And of course, I have had to learn how to teach online, just all of a sudden got thrown in, and so that kept me very busy for the second half of the semester. But in addition to that, I do a lot of chamber music playing, which is my true love. I do some solo playing. I play in 2 orchestras when there's a need for keyboard, and I really love doing that because playing the piano can be a very lonely thing. So it's great to team up with other people. I also organize a spring recital series up at Jones and have been doing that almost since I arrived there. And I think that was really great training for FestivalSouth, actually, and I still do that, still organize guest artists to come in for that. Way back around 2001 or 2, Jay Dean asked me to help him organize a chamber music festival in Vicksburg. And so we did that for about 6 years, I believe, and that was quite successful. And I learned an awful lot about organization from that. I learned about being meticulous and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's from just being a pianist and dealing with piano festivals and students and all of that. But in 2010, I believe we started, he asked me to come aboard for the classical and chamber music section of the festival. And so I did that, and we had a lot more events back then, and so I was just running around like crazy all year pretty much, and especially during the festival. Eventually I added the coffee concert series to my list of duties, and that's been interesting, and I wasn't sure about it at first, but it's turned out to be a really great thing. And I love the interaction with the community and the businesses and all the venues that we use. We have had some great venues with churches and community civic locations and our 2 universities here in Hattiesburg every year, all the time.
So Teresa is also really responsible for what you see, for all of those people there. As much as people like to say, Mike, you did such a good job and you're great, thanks so much, but it's not me alone. There are so many people that make all this happen, even here tonight, from the HCA board members, FestivalSouth staff. Everybody sort of takes on a different area. If you're watching our Movement Mondays, Sydney's doing that. But Teresa takes on the music portion of this and all the festival music. And really, though my title gets to be artistic director, or with Jay, co-artistic director, she brings to the table really interesting artists and different. She has an idea of the history of what has happened for the whole time and tries to keep it different and interesting. And the quality is just like none other. The other thing that we've tried to do, and I think sometimes people hear chamber music, and I think I don't know what they quite think, but I have a feeling they're just scared of it. It's a little more intimidating. And what's really thrilling through the coffee concerts even, and then moving into some of our more featured chamber things in the evenings and afternoons, is the age range of people there, from children to senior adults and everything in between. And one of the things that you've been so amazing with is trying to keep it all the programming and the time limits festival friendly, as we've been calling all of our festival term things. And that has been quite to your credit, and the quality is incredible, and the programming has been just so broad. It's hard to even explain what we do, and every year you just have to look for it and find it, and those have been really fun. Something I mentioned before you started talking, though, is back in the day I was fortunate to have you as my accompanist, and we have already heard from several people performing, and the term that everybody's using now is a collaborative pianist. And I just think if anybody who's ever played with a piano behind them, they understand how important that can be, or how deadly it can be if they are not quite ready to do something. I'll tell you, Teresa has saved me several times, making scary performer mistakes when you're in degree recitals and the nerves are all there, and things you've played 100 times suddenly don't happen the way you wanted them to. And she's able to make that all seem like nothing happened and just keep going. And I will tell you also, just in sheer number of notes, she probably has 40 times the number of notes most solo instruments have in what they're doing. Tell us a little bit about what you do as a collaborative pianist, and some of our collaborative pianists and what they're doing within the festival, maybe.
Well, there are collaborations with singers, of course, and with other instruments, and there are different requirements for those things. With singers, you have to really be aware of their breath and be listening for their phrasing when they're going to take extra time, and it's not always the same every time. And then if they have a little bobble, if they forget some words, or jump ahead a little bit, you've got to jump with them and try to make it seamless, as Mike said. With instruments, with wind instruments, again, the breath is really important, and the phrasing. And with strings, the being with the bowing, and again the cueing. My regular chamber group, the Impromptu Piano Trio, I get to play with 2 fabulous string players, professors at USM, Stephen Redfield, violinist, and Alexandra Tchaikovsky, cellist. And I have learned so much from them about phrasing and cueing and expression, and just all of it. And it's a great joy to feel like you're in a conversation together. A conversation among friends is how I know string quartet playing is often described. And it's really like that with duos, trios, quartets, any combination of one person to a part. So you have to be really proficient at your own part, and then also be aware of everyone else's part, because sometimes things get a little ragged and you do have to save the day as the pianist, because you see all the parts in front of you. All the music for the other players is right there above the piano part. So all collaborative pianists have to learn to do that, and to know that, it's not just a note perfect performance every time, and it really probably won't be. There will be some little hitches here and there because things just go wrong. But that's part of the beauty of live performance, and I love that part, really. It's very exciting, whether I'm playing with a student or a professional.
you surely have saved the day on many accounts. For me personally, both musically and with Festival South and many of the things we deal with. I appreciate everything you do for the festival. Next time you see her, she comes to almost everything. When we all are able to see each other again, please make sure to say hello to Teresa. And I don't think you could have segued any better into a couple of one of your colleagues, Sasha as we call him, but Alexandra Tchaikovsky on cello. Will be performing in just a moment. Teresa, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mike.
And just as I said, we'll be having Alexandra Tchaikovsky performing on cello. You'll get a little bit more information about our painting, and there's still more because Teresa is going to perform as well. Be right back.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Tchaikovsky, and I'm a member of the Impromptu trio, which was supposed to perform in the 2020 FestivalSouth. Unfortunately, our concert was cancelled due to the pandemic, but my colleagues and I have decided to record a few solo selections to support the festival. In this video, I'm going to perform 3 movements out of the celebrated Suite Number 1 by Johann Sebastian Bach. These movements are Courant, Sarabande, and Jig.
I'm Kelsey Wishick. I'm a Mississippi native from the Gulf Coast. Well, I was excited to be asked to participate in FestivalSouth, and of course the first thing that I was thinking about with how to connect with the concept was my experience with Hattiesburg. I've spent a lot of time on the Leaf River in the woods playing music myself, and I always kind of have this like myth that I tell myself about this man in the river who's perpetually playing music for all of time. And I've done several paintings and drawings of this river myth man, and kind of showed up again in this work. I thought it would be interesting to give him a kind of unique instrument. So he's playing the banjo-lele, a little small banjo-ukulele mix. And I kind of worked with the idea of the appearance of kinky boots in the festival to just give him these vibrant boots to ground him into the river. So he's very much a part of nature and participating in the landscape. And that's kind of how I spent my time here in Hattiesburg, always outside, enjoying the beauty that is offered here. So the color in this painting, it actually came in response to an actual sunrise that I experienced as I was starting to conceive this idea. I was really struck by this kind of lemon yellow that happened one morning. I don't think I've ever seen that color before in real life until that day. And it became this kind of surreal experience that I was having, and that I wanted maybe the viewer to be able to touch into. So it's just this really vibrant springtime, early springtime colors, and kind of just pushing that surreal moment of being integrated with everything. So like there's this swooping, like he's kind of swooping into the trees are becoming into the atmosphere, so everything is connected in a way. And I wanted to play with that with the colors too. So even his jeans, his shirt, it becomes kind of atmospheric or like the river, like the landscape. So trying to push that connection. I'm always thinking about the nature of water and the fluidity of water and the contrasting nature of the different elements. But I feel always quite drawn to water and that kind of ability for it to reflect our stories and our moments. And I always think of water when I'm in Hattiesburg for some reason because of the rivers. When I think of creativity in relationship to the pandemic, my experience has been to, take an initial pause and assess what is most important to me as a creator, not to just create compulsively. So it's been actually a really beautiful time to step back and reintegrate into the vision process of creativity. So obviously sometimes it just comes and it flows, and other times it really starts with how I feel like creativity starts with how we see life and how an artist sees life. So I've been really cultivating that direct contact with the places that I'm in, the kind of empathy that I feel for the situation, and allowing it to slow down a little bit. So, I always think of creativity as a kind of technology of what we can create with what we have. So in that way, I also think this time has really brought us back to what is essential. It's not always about maybe the product or the object or the show, but also that kind of fulfillment and relationship with the medium directly. We're kind of coming from this time, the past few years have been really hard with all the challenges we're facing with minorities, Me Too movement, just everything's kind of come up in the past few years. And I feel like it's been a kind of time of lamenting. And I hope that on the other side of this, that we come to really celebrate the sacredness of diversity in life and spread more color and light through our art.
I'd like to thank Marlo Dorsey, Jorge Gonzalez, Teresa Sanchez, and Alexandra Tchaikovsky for being with us tonight. Teresa's playing in just a minute. Don't miss that. Don't tune out yet. I also want to thank all of our FestivalSouth staff and all of the Hattiesburg Concert Association who make this and all of FestivalSouth possible. And I want to thank you for watching. We need your support. Please take a moment and visit FestivalSouth.org, click on the big red button, and support these artists in any way you can. Any bit helps, anything you can do. The other thing you can do is find your share button and share this program with anybody all around the world. That's one of the most amazing things about this whole live stream, is that we're able to share with anyone and tell them about the great things that are happening here in Hattiesburg. Again, if you have a moment and are in Hattiesburg and go downtown Sunday night at 7, you might hear some steel drums playing Sinatra. So take a listen. But here, as far as live streams, please join us Monday at noon for a special Movement Monday featuring the Hub Dance Collective, and then again Tuesday at 7:30, where our guest will be, I'm having to read this, there's so many people, Amanda Powell of the Hattiesburg Concert Association, Melissa Berdion singing a favorite show tune, Rachel Serraldo of HCA and the Lagniappe Trio, and a special performance by the Lagniappe Trio. Finally, I'd like to ask you to please, between now and our next time, really listen to someone. Truly learn from them, and love everyone. Thank you and good night.